Cold plunges are one of the most soothing and relaxing things that you can experience.
Look.
I cannot! It's too cold! Oh, ow! No, absolutely not. You cannot get in it.
All right, so maybe my wife isn't the biggest fan of cold plunges. Quite honestly, either was I in the beginning. In fact, I couldn't even stand a cold shower.
Nice.
But I kept hearing the benefits of taking ice baths or taking a cold plunge. And I was finally ready to at least test it out. So today I want to share my journey into cold water therapy. What made me want to try it out in the first place? What are some of the ways I've been able to take ice baths at a convenient and also affordable way? Which one works the best and could also work for you? And ultimately why I decided on the cold plunge that I have. So if you're ready to dive in, literally, let's go. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, Wealth Hacker Labs. I'm your grateful host, Jeff Rose. So let's dive into ice baths. Quick note, it is 100 degrees today here in Nashville. So if I start sweating, you know why. But here's my journey with ice baths. So you may not know this, but I'm not like as young as I used to be. You know, me and Tom Brady are like 1 year apart, except I was not playing in the NFL when I was 44 years old. I used to do CrossFit all the time. I was in the military, wearing my Kevlar, wearing my battle vest. So over the years, I've put a lot of wear and tear on my body.
My body's like a chip too. Potato chip. No.
And before, it wasn't a big deal. It was easy for me to recover, easy for me to come back around. As I've gotten older, that recovery time has taken a lot longer than I'm used to.
We'll just have to wait and see.
I've got 4 kids, 3 boys, all super active. Love playing sports with them, basketball, baseball, football, whatever that is. Love to work out. Don't like to run all that much, but I love to work out, so I'm very active. And there would be times where I was playing basketball with my boys, and at the end of it, it literally felt like I ran a marathon. Even though I've technically never ran a marathon, that's what that's what it felt like. Like I was just so beat down. But despite being sore for 2 to 3 days after doing any major sporting activity, I still was not willing to try an ice bath. I didn't even want to do a cold shower. The idea of cold water just sounded ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Until one day I was on a walk in our neighborhood and I came across this guy who's about my age, and I know that he's a runner. And he's like, dude, I just want to tell you something. I went on a run this morning and I went to my buddy's place afterwards, and we ran a longer distance than I'm normally used to. And when we got back to this place, he's like, hey dude, I want to show you something. And I'm like, what is your buddy gonna show you? Like, I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm thinking, but I'm like, I'm intrigued at this point. So it turns out his buddy had a cold plunge. And he had never did a cold plunge up until that point. So he got in this cold plunge for 3 minutes, and then he got in his hot tub afterwards. And what he told me was something that I'll never forget. He's like, Jeff, I know how my body feels after I run a long distance. Like, I know how I should be feeling right now. But after doing this cold plunge, I feel amazing. Like I could actually go run another several miles right now. And that's all that I needed to hear. I knew at that point in time, I've been pushing off trying cold water therapy for way too long. It was finally ready to go. Except, where do I start?
I can start that now.
So at that time, the first place that I started was right here in our pool. At that time, it was a time of the year where the water was cool enough that I could get in. Now, I don't remember the exact temperature, but it was somewhere between 60 and 65 degrees. And for those people that do cold plunges, you're like, Jeff, that ain't cold. But for somebody that hates cold water, initially that was freezing.
I don't want to freeze my butt off in the cold.
And even though that water wasn't super cold, it was still cold enough where I could feel the benefits. Like, there was no denying that if I went out and played basketball with my boys or did one really hard workout and then came in and did a cold plunge in our pool, like I felt so much better afterwards. I was less tight. I didn't have the soreness. It almost felt as if like I got out of a hot tub, except it was cold water. It really didn't make sense to me, but I could definitely feel the inflammation was almost gone. Now, the downside of using your pool for a cold plunge, one is you may not have a pool. So if you don't have a pool, that ain't really an option. Number two, it also depends where you live. So we live here in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and during the winter, the water will get cold enough. I don't know the coldest temperature, but somewhere in the mid 40s is where it's been. But at the time of this recording, it's late summer, early fall, and we're pushing 100 degrees outside. So that means the water temp is about 80, 85. That is definitely not cold enough if you're trying to do cold water therapy.
Not enough.
So the other option is to do a cold shower or taking a cold bath. But what I learned pretty quickly was that our water, our cold water, the coldest that it ever got to was 65 degrees. Now, once again, if you've never done a cold plunge before, like that is still really cold. But as I've learned, like that still is not cold enough. That led to me ultimately taking ice baths. But as I mentioned, the water started off at 65 degrees. So for me to get it down to 60 or 55, that takes a lot of ice. Because initially I thought if I just add a tray of ice, like that will be enough to get it cold. And what I quickly learned, it wasn't even close.
Not even close.
So in our house, we have an ice maker like you would see in a hotel. We have one in our kitchen. We also have an ice maker in our pool house. We also have ice in our freezer in our main house. I would take all of that ice and I would store it overnight. I would then fill up Yeti coolers to the top and I would add all of that ice. And we're talking bags and bags of ice. I'm sure if I went to the gas station, I'd probably spend over $50 just in ice. And that was every single day. I was adding all of this ice, and even adding what I added, it would still only get the water temp to maybe 58, 59. Like that was the coldest it could ever get. And we haven't even talked about the time that it took to set all of this up. I was filling up Yeti bags. I was freezing ice overnight, and that was typically would take me, say 10, 15 minutes at night. And then to come in and fill the tub with water, carry all of the ice in over from the pool house, out from our garage, in the freezer in the garage. On average, I have to guess it took me about 30 minutes just to get it ready. And that was all to get water temperature at 59 degrees. And if you're wondering, why in the world would I go through all that trouble, all that effort just to take an ice bath every single day? I'm here to tell you it's because it was worth it.
It was worth it!
It was worth it. I couldn't deny how I felt after taking an ice bath. It didn't matter if I went on a run, played basketball, played pickleball, did some sort of CrossFit, weight training type workout. If I took an ice bath, 30 to 60 minutes afterwards, I felt amazing. So when the pool was too warm to take an ice bath, and when it just got to the point where taking 30 to 45 minutes a day to get the tub ready to take an ice bath, my wife and I, we started looking at what are some other options. And that's where I'm excited to share the option that we chose. So what we ended up choosing was ModTub. And one of the main reasons we chose this, like my wife, who is holding the camera right now, she did all of the research. Like initially we started looking at DIY options. And that can be affordable, but what we learned was you can actually get a ModTub for not much more than doing it yourself. So we're like, why would we do it ourselves when we can get a ModTub? So one of the benefits of the ModTub is that you have the chiller, which is like probably the most important piece. That basically, think of it like the refrigerant that's keeping the water a certain temp every second of every day. And that's one thing that I love. It also has a filter to keep that water clean. Well, enough talking about the ModTub. I'm actually gonna get in, and I did something special today where I actually lowered the temperature to the lowest I've tested out. Right now it's at 49 degrees. 55 has been that sweet spot, but just for the sake of this video, let's go a little bit colder and see how I do.
This is a load of barnacles.
I heard that!
Okay, so one of the things I've learned doing a cold plunge, you just gotta go. Like, it is completely a mental thing. So what I do before I get in is I say to myself, 3, 2, 1, go. So let's go ahead and do that right now. 2, 1. Okay. Okay. Now I will say, usually I don't put my head under, but just for the sake of you all that are watching this video, I'm gonna do it for you. So once again, 3, 2, 1. Whew, whew, whew. Whew, whew. Okay. That is completely different experience. Oh my goodness. Okay. Whew, whew. So for me, my sweet spot has been between 53, 55 degrees. With that temperature, I can stay in for about 10 minutes, and it's actually not terrible.
It's not terrible.
Right now it's 49, 50 degrees, and one thing I've learned as I'm building a tolerance, like, it feels good. And once again, like, 65 degrees was way too cold for me when I first started, but now I can get in at 49, 50 degrees and it feels amazing. And one of the best parts having the mod plunge is that I can take multiple cold plunges, ice baths a day. The most I've ever done is 2, but if I want to do 2, it doesn't take me 30 minutes each time to set it up. If I want to get in, I come out here, pop it open, sit my butt in here, and just let the ice bath water do its trick. All right, y'all, hope you enjoyed this video talking about my ModTub cold plunge. I'm about 5 minutes in. Can't really feel my toes anymore, but I'm gonna finish this out. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, but you can go now. Bye.